Suffer not the alien to live. This week on Review Rollout, Codex Supplement Deathwatch.
Anvil of War! Review Rollout!
Hey guys, welcome back to Anvil of War. First of all, if you like this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. That's the video down in the right-hand corner, or the icon down in the right-hand corner of your screen. It really helps out our channel, and it helps you stay notified of more of our content when it comes out. So, I would like to extend a huge thank you to the guys over at Red Dragon here in Orleans, Ontario, for providing us with this this Deathwatch Codex so we could review it for you guys. But Brett, you're an Orc player. Why are you reviewing the Deathwatch? Well, because I actually played Deathwatch. I played Deathwatch at the beginning of 8th edition, and I have a little bit of experience with them. I took them to a couple tournaments. I did okay. So that's why I'm here reviewing it for you guys. I have some experience with the army. So without further ado, let's over to the table and dive on in. All right, and here we are on the table with Codex Supplement Deathwatch. Now, like all the other Marine books that are coming out that we're going to start seeing, we saw it with the Space Wolves, Codex Supplement. So it's meant to go hand in hand with the Marine Codex here, and it draws a lot from that. So there's actually only 9 data sheets in this Codex. The rest is all just rules and fluff and stuff like that to make those units work in a Deathwatch setting. So let's crack into it. So we have our obligatory picture of the screaming faces that you see in the covers of every new GW book coming out for 9th edition. And here we go. We got, just as we get into it, just a quick little blurb. This is the Deathwatch. What to expect when you open the book, this hallowed tome. We have our table of contents, so you run through this. It'll give you basically, if you're looking for something specific, boom, y'all know how a table of contents works here, guys. Introduction, quick little intro to the Deathwatch as a faction, and then we get more into that as we go on. So here's a larger piece of the cover art. It is nice to see them coming out with new artwork for the books in 9th edition. They're not just recycling the old stuff. It has I think Adam touched on it actually in one of his videos. It does have a very grim, dark feel to it. It's very... this is the last hour of the Imperium is how it feels when I open these books, and it's pretty cool. So, quick little blurb, another one about the Deathwatch. Basically, suffer not the alien to live. That's what we're doing here, guys. We're not suffering those aliens. The doom of all Xenos. So, that's, again, all lore, basically what the Deathwatch are, where they come from, or who they come from, and what made them come to be. The Enemy Without talks about how they're who deals with the Xenos. They are the Enemy Without, the Enemy Within being heretics and the like. The Honor of Vigil basically goes through how Space Marines come from other chapters to serve in the Deathwatch. Tools of the Alien Hunter. So, kind of goes through how they're the Chamber Militant of the Ordo Xenos. So, we all know the Inquisition likes to use technology that would get a guardsman summarily executed. And this probably has to be my favorite. It is the re-engineered Eastern Fringe artillery piece. I would love to see a Space Marine walking around to one of those. Any converting buffs out there, get on it. It'd be pretty great. And then these are probably my favorite part of all the codices that come out. It's basically just a little narrative blurb, Forge the Narrative. So it tells you, it runs you through a battle. It's almost written as a short story. And you can find them in most books, and if you're as big into the lore of 40k as I am, I suggest giving them a read. They're excellently written. So kudos to GW for that. And the Shield That Slays. So this basically will run through how the Deathwatch are, again, more lore on them being the defenders of the Imperium against the Xenos, but also the hunters of the Xenos. Warzone, Chalnoth Expanse. So we see that in the newer codices, they give us a war zone, and it gives you little blurbs on what that codices faction is doing in that war zone. So if you want to do a crusade with your buddies or something like that, you can almost set it here, which is really cool. More stuff, basically just getting into the units that are in this book. Kill Team Cassius, they have a datasheet again. So they haven't had a datasheet since 7th edition. They've always been sold as their own box, but now you can kind of use them as a single unit. Cassius has his kill team. And the other thing I like about this, actually, we'll get to that when we actually look at the datasheet itself. Watch Captain Artemis. And then the Knights of the Long Vigil, so this gets into all the catalog shots of the Deathwatch. Games Workshop's like, look how pretty our models are. So, and how cool they do look on the table, because they're very Spec Ops, Black Operations Space Marines, which is what I've always felt Space Marines should be. They aren't into grinding wars of attrition. That's what the Guard are for. But if you need something, if you need to drop in and have something killed, then you send the Deathwatch, because they're actually pretty good at it. And it shows how they use all kinds of different weaponry and equipment to conventional Space Marines, and they use it in different ways. Like they combine units that are sharing armor types, so you'll actually see aggressors and inceptors in the same unit and stuff like that. Onto their transports, so they have access to the normal Space Marine transports. They also have access to the Corvus Blackstar. Now this is probably the best looking flyer in 40k in my opinion, and it's doing pretty well for itself right now, compared to how it was doing last edition. You almost never saw it, which was a damn shame, because they're very, very attractive looking gunships. Nice full cover piece of, I'd say, artwork, but it's just a battle going on, rooting out some Gene Stealer cults in some hive somewhere. And then we get into the rules. So it's broken down very easily here. We have, again, like the table of contents, you just open it up here, and if you're looking for any particular rule, you can go directly to those pages. So if you're only in it for Crusade, you go to page 42, stuff like that. So this is a nice reference to have. And then it shows you your combat patrol. So this is what you would expect a 500 to 1,000, or 500 or 25 power level Deathwatch force to look. You notice there's not a lot of them because they're very specialized. So they can deal with quite a bit that you normally wouldn't expect a normal Marine, even a normal Marine, to deal with, which is nice. They're elite Marines, which has always attracted me to them. So, detachment abilities. Now we're getting into the meat and potatoes of this codex, or Codex Supplement. So, if you see here, you don't use the typical mission tactics that you would, or combat doctrines that you would from the normal Space Marine Codex with Deathwatch. They actually have a unique spin on it. So you basically choose your doctrine by the turn. You're not rigid in where it goes from Devastator Doctrine into Tactical Doctrine into Assault Doctrine. You choose what suits you the best at that particular time. So there are some stipulations. You cannot select the Devastator Doctrine to be active in your army for more than once. So kind of like how the Marines only get it in turn 1, or Codex Marines only get it in turn 1, you can only have it for one turn. But I find this incredibly useful, and it lends to the flexibility that the Deathwatch have is, oh, you're just going to hide turn 1 against my shooting army. Well, okay, I'll pop Tactical Doctrine. Are you going to come out and play on turn 2 and try to grab those objectives? Now we're in Devastator Doctrine. So, eat your heart out. Repulsors, Gladiators, Hellblasters. It's very flexible. It allows you to kind of control the flow of the mission, which 9th edition is all about the mission. So it'll be very nice to see. It's like, if they want to come out turn 1, turn 2, you can kind of control if they're gonna eat that Devastator Doctrine or when they're gonna eat it. And the other thing is, if you choose Tactical Doctrine, you don't have to do it for 2 consecutive turns. You can't have it active for more than twice, but you can do Tactical Doctrine first turn, Devastator Doctrine second turn, Tactical Doctrine third turn, which is Also incredibly flexible. And then move right into Assault Doctrine and clear those Xenos remnants off of those precious objectives. Stop them from soiling the Imperium with their presence. So that's the first bit of rules, and we're already off to an excellent start with the Deathwatch. And then stratagems. So there are a lot of them. We're just going to touch on a couple of the big ones here that I really like the look of or hate the look of as a Xenos player. So first one, stem the green tide. I don't know why this exists. Not like anyone needs help killing orcs. But we have basically used this stratagem in your charge phase after an orc unit has declared a charge against one or more Deathwatch units from your army. The Deathwatch units that were selected to the target of that charge can fire Overwatch at the orc unit. Until the end of the phase, if any models from that orc unit are destroyed as a result of Overwatch, subtract 2 from the charge rolls. So you're turning a deep strike or a jump charge from 9 or 8 if they're running Evil Sons to a 10 or 11. Sure, they got rerolls, they're orcs, but that extra 2 inches really hurts, especially if there's a repulsor in there or an impulsor, and then you have an extra 2 inches to that. You're denying them that charge at that point, and it hurts being an orc player. It really does. And correct me if I'm wrong, guys. We might have to wait for an FAQ on this, but it's 2 command points, and then the Overwatch stratagem is 1 command point. So it's like, 3 command points. That's a lot of command points to spend to do that. But the first bullet says, the Deathwatch units that were selected as a target of that charge can fire Overwatch at that orc unit. So you can have multiple units firing Overwatch without spending the command point for the Overwatch stratagem based on this stratagem. So you spend 2 command points, you have multiple units firing Overwatch if they charge multiple targets, and for any model that's killed, they subtract 2. So it's actually really good bang for your buck if you're playing against orcs, in my opinion, because you're not wasting 3 command points. You're spending 2 to get potentially multiple units to Overwatch, which, unless you're Tau, no other armies really have that right now. So that's very excellent. Love it. The other really good one that I like is the special issue loadout. So this one, I already see the big combos happening with this, because the Deathwatch, outside of veterans, like their standard firstborn veterans, and then the units that are already in this book, they don't get special issue ammunition anymore. So you don't have special issue ammunition on your Primaris Marines anymore. You don't have it on your bikes anymore, stuff like that. So, yeah, that hurts being a Deathwatch player, but it's good for the game, in my opinion. You don't have just spamming special issue ammunition everywhere. But this does allow you to, we'll get into it. You use the stratagem in your shooting phase when you select a Deathwatch infantry unit from your army to shoot. Until the end of that phase, bolt weapons. All bolt weapons. Well, excluding bolt sniper rifles, but then you see Codex Space Marines and they have their own special issue ammunition anyways. Without the special issue ammunition ability, then models in that unit are equipped with, or models that a unit equipped with bolt weapons gain the special issue ammunition ability. And the type of characteristic is changed to heavy 1. So you're not going to be using this on your auto bolt rifles. You're not going to be using this on your bolt storm gauntlets, because you're bringing those to thin the hordes, right? But if you have a squad of Primaris Marines that is all kicking around with stalker rifles and you were only heavy 1 anyways, now you're giving them heavy 1 with special issue ammo for 2 command points, but it does get pretty zany because you can take those special issue ammunition, you pop in vengeance rounds, your stalker bolt rifles go from damage 2 to damage 3, or you put in the Hellfire rounds to put down Gazkull, stuff like that. It's pretty tasty, the combos you can get with special issue loadout. So they did kind of bring back special issue ammunition for the other stuff, but now it's not everywhere, which is good. Alright, so other strategies, I'm not going to go super in depth into some of the other ones, but we're just going to glaze through them. Like, there's a change here, Synaptic Severance. So the Tyranids used to be where you would be able to ignore, I guess in 8th edition it wasn't ignore lookouts, sir, but you could target enemy characters even though they weren't the closest model as long as they had the synapse keyword. So you could target neurothropes and broodlords that were hiding behind the larger broods of Tyranids to clear them out and take away their buffs and also synapse. Now, however, it doesn't do that. So use the stratagem in your shooting or fight phase, and then when a Deathwatch unit from your army is selected to shoot or fight, until the end of that phase, when each model in that unit makes an attack against a Tyranid synapse unit, an unmodified hit roll of 6 automatically wounds. So it's a little less useful against broodlords and neurothropes and Tyranid primes, the stuff that can hide. But it's more useful, arguably, against things like Swarmlord or Hive Tyrants or Tervagons, the things that can't hide, and now you're auto-wounding them on 6s. So that's pretty helpful, getting those wounds through. And that doesn't require special issue ammunition or anything. You can just use that on your heavy hitting bolt rifles that your Primaris have. And lastly, we'll just take a look at Prognosticating Volley, because no one likes Eldar. Use the stratagem in your shooting phase when Deathwatch unit from your army is selected to shoot. Until the end of that phase, each model in the unit makes a range attack against an Eldari unit. You can ignore any or all hit modifiers and ballistic skill modifiers for that attack. So just let you hit them better on even fields. None of that crazy jink trickery shenanigans. Also, we have Disruptive Launch. So Fly can't fall back and shoot naturally anymore, as per the core rulebook. So a lot of the Deathwatch combos where you'd throw an Inceptor into a unit or a Vanguard Veteran into a unit so it could fall back and shoot, they kind of went out the window until this book. Now you still get it, but you got to pay for it. You got to pay a command point, which I think is pretty fair, because it's a very useful tool to have. So use the stratagem in your movement phase when a Deathwatch jump pack unit, Indomitor kill team unit that contains an Inceptor, or a Proteus kill team unit that contains a Vanguard Veteran with a jump pack from your army falls back. That unit is eligible to shoot even though it fell back this turn. So pop out of combat, daka, and things go away. So I like that one too. Keeps some of the old stuff that you could do with Deathwatch. Kill team specialisms. So now we saw this table in the Marine book where you pay extra power or points to get a little bit of a buff onto your units. So you can, if your army is Battleforged and contains any Deathwatch detachments, excluding auxiliary support, super heavy auxiliary, or fortification networks, then when you muster your army, you can upgrade any kill team units from your army to have a specialism. If you have a Crusade force, it is also possible for some character units to gain a specialism, as described on page 46. So basically, you pay for them to have a specialism through power or points, and then it gives them one of these buffs. So it's like Deathwatch is really Codex your dudes. You make what you want. There's so much flexibility in their toolbox, and I love it. So let's just pick one of these. We'll look at the Führer, because everyone has troops. So you pay 35 points or 2 power level to make one of your kill teams a Führer kill team. And then each time a model in this unit makes an attack against an enemy with the troop's battlefield roll, you re-roll wound rolls of 1 for that attack. If you select the troop's battlefield roll for the Xeno Hunter's Chapter Tactic, see Codex Space Marines, each time a model in that unit makes an attack against an enemy with the troop battlefield roll, you can re-roll the wound roll. You just flat out re-roll it. So the Xeno Hunter's Chapter Tactic in Codex Space Marines, basically, it touches on what the Deathwatch can... It gave us a preview of what they can do. So Deathwatch, they can re-roll ones to hit against any Xenos race, and then if you're not playing them, say you're playing Chaos Space Marines, they still get some flexibility, whereas at the beginning of the battle, after they've deployed, you select one battlefield roll from your army, or from your opponent's army, troops, heavy support, fast attack, stuff like that. You can re-roll ones to wound against that battlefield roll for the duration of the battle. So this basically lets you, say you're going up against orcs, right? Because I like orcs. So you take the Führer doctrine, right? And then you can reroll 1s to wound against all troops for your entire army. But say you have a kill team that's aggressors and all that, and you just want to hose down those boys. You make them Führer. You pay the 35 points, okay, 35 points, but you reroll all wounds against orc troop units. It's a lot of dead boys. That's so many dead boys. Good thing we got a lot of them. So that's your kill team specialisms. Additional flexibility, they are worth it in my opinion. I really like it. And I like how you have to pay for it now, right? Like it's all about bringing balance. You get this crazy buff, but you got to pay for it. And over to Warlord traits. So Warlord traits, there's a couple really good ones. So we'll look at the Ties That Bind. While a friendly Deathwatch core unit within 6 inches of this Warlord, you can reroll a morale test for that unit. Alright. In your command phase, you can select one friendly Deathwatch core unit within 6 inches of this Warlord. Until the end or start of your next command phase, that unit gains the objective secured ability. If it already has the objective secured ability, it counts as one additional model for determining control of an objective. And that's not per unit, that's per model. So every model in that OBSEC unit counts as 2 models. So you have so you've taken some casualties. You have a 6-man veteran squad. Well, now you have a 12-man veteran squad controlling that objective. Those 10 grots can be gone. I don't think 10 grots would hold an objective over any kind of Space Marines anyways, but that's just the way the game works with OBSEC. So that one, I love that one, because it gives you're already an elite army, that's just a force multiplier that gets you stuff like that. And then Paragon of the Chapter, it's pretty fluffy, I like it. Select one Warlord trait from the Chapter Warlord traits for this Warlord, from Codex Space Marines. Replace all instances of the Chapter's keyword on that Warlord trait with Deathwatch. If this Warlord has the heraldry of one of those chapters, or one of its successor chapters, or, one of the ones in the book, like Crimson Fist, Black Templars, Flesh Terrors, you must select that chapter's Warlord trait. So that's really cool. It's like, if you've actually painted this guy to have his pauldron be a Flesh Terror, he must take the Flesh Terror's Warlord trait if you take this Warlord trait. And also note that this cannot be a chapter Warlord trait found in a Codex Supplement. So you can't go into the Imperial Fists Codex Supplement and bring in the one the Fleet Master that lets you call down an orbital bombardment. But this is really cool if you're playing a beer and pretzels game with your buddies, or if you're running a crusade and your Warlord hails from the Ultramarines. He can bring some of his Ultramarines expertise over to the Deathwatch and regen command points, right? On 5+. So we have a nice choice I like competitively, and we have a nice choice that I like narratively. So let's move on. Relics. So there's your typical ones that you find in all the Marine books, like Digital Weapons, Artificial Armor, stuff like that. Adamantine Mantle. There's also the Deathwatch specific ones. So they have the ones they used to have, like the Beacon Angelus, the Thief of Secrets, and they've also added new ones. So there's a couple of really tasty ones in here, so let's just get into this. Probably my favorite one, maybe not competitively my favorite, but my favorite period is the Soul Fortress. So it's a librarian model only, but each time a psychic test is made for that bearer, you ignore any and all modifiers to that test. So if there's a Tyranid with Shadow in the Warp, or if they're Kronos and they use that weird stratagem, or they try to use that weird stratagem that makes you roll a psychic test on one die, you ignore it. You make your psychic test as you would. So maybe that's a great relic if you're going up against Tyranids, because they have a lot of shenanigans that resolve around hurting enemy psychers. So this kind of just keeps you from suffering those penalties. It's like the Soul Fortress. Your soul is fortified against the Shadow and the Warp kind of thing. And you also increase the range of the bear's psychic hood to 24 inches. So you can add 1 to the dice for your Deny the Witch tests if you're within 24 inches now, it just basically makes your librarian more reliable. He doesn't have to be right up in the thick of it. He can get his powers off regardless of what the enemy's trying to do. So I like that one. It's probably my favorite. Now, there's everyone's old favorite, the Tome of Ectoclades. Once per battle in your command phase, you use the Tome of Ectoclades. If you do so, select one data sheet used by a unit from your opponent's army. Until the start of your next command phase, the bearer has the following ability. Home of Ectic Ladies. Aura. While friendly Deathwatch core unit is within 6 inches of the bearer each time the model in that unit makes an attack against the unit belonging to the selected data sheet, you can re-roll the wound roll. Now this is incredibly good because maybe you didn't have the points to spend on a kill team specialization. Maybe you chose the wrong mission tactic and now it's late game and there's an enemy unit sitting on an objective that you need gone. Maybe like you chose Führer and maybe it's a Death Skulls who's an elite unit, but they still have OBSEC because they're Death Skulls. You choose that, say that elite unit's Tank Busters. That data sheet's Tank Busters. You now reroll all wound rolls against Tank Busters if you're within 6 inches of this Warlord. Another one I like is the Artificer Bolt Cache. So it's a relic, you pay for it on a character, but bolt weapons, see Codex Space Marines, that the bearer is equipped with gain the special issue ammunition ability. Now, this is fantastic. Like I said, you don't have a lot of instances of special issue ammo outside of your Deathwatch veteran squads or your Watchmaster or something like that. Now, you can put this on any character that you have. The one that immediately comes to my mind is the Captain in Phobos armor, because he already has a damage 3 bolt rifle or bolt carbine that can snipe characters. So you give him the Artificer Bolt Cache, and then you make him use Vengeance rounds, and suddenly that Cadian Warlord sitting over there is gone. Hits on a 2, you save your CP reroll, because he doesn't affect himself anymore, because auras are way better than they used to be. But you save your CP reroll for that. You hit on the 2, rerolling with your CP. You wound on your 3 or whatever. It flies through the armor. If they don't have an invuln save, it's even better. But it's flat 4 damage with the Vengeance rounds. So you can get Warlord potentially turn 1. And there's a secondary that gives you an instant 15 points if you kill someone's Warlord turn 1. So play it by ear. Whoever you're going up against, Genestealer Cults, Imperial Guard, Orcs, if they've made their Warlord a mech instead of a war boss. I don't know why you'd ever do that. But it's because he gets that advanced positioning too, right? So that means you can get in the kill zone from turn 1. And it's so very mildly situational, but fantastic if you can have it go off. And then there's another one I'll touch on, the Dominus Aegis. So this was the Relic Storm Shield from the old iteration. Now it's changed a slight bit because Storm Shields have changed. But this one doesn't actually give your bearer an invuln save either. It just gives you your add +1 to the saving throws made by that bearer. Now, you throw this on a captain though, right? You put it on your captain, so now he already has his Iron Halo, right, for his invuln save, and he gets his 2-up armor save with this Storm Shield relic, because it replaces a Storm Shield, Relic Shield, or Combat Shield. But then also, if he's like sitting in a castle or something, the bearer has the following ability: Dominus Aegis Aura. While a friendly Deathwatch core or Deathwatch character unit is within 6 inches of the bearer, models in that unit have a 5-up invulnerable save. So you can give this to an infantry unit that's backline camping, Hellblasters, something like that. You can give it to Dreadnoughts because they are core. So now you just have this little mini castle sitting wherever this character is with the shield, and he's helping out his mates, and you just see him just plant the shield. Force field goes up. Really cool. A lot of nice relics in here. Those are some of my favorites, or the ones that stood out the most to me. But the more I read this book, the more combos I see. So you guys, I'm sure, will be able to pick something up with the rest of these. Moving on. They have their own discipline. Deathwatch finally have their own discipline. They aren't stuck with the regular Marine discipline, which was a huge gripe for me when I was playing Deathwatch. It's like, my librarian is from the Blood Angels. Why am I stuck using Codex Marines as my discipline? Blah, 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 blah. Well, now they have their own. That's specifically meant to deal with Xenos. Or, well, in the lore. But they're all very useful. Now, if I was having a beer and pretzels game, again, with my mates, This is like, I think, the only discipline I've seen where I would actually roll for my powers, because they're all useful. I love them, but if I was going to a tournament with my Deathwatch or whatever, one of the big ones I would do is Knurl Void. This one is excellent. It's a malediction. Knurl Void has a warp charge value of 7. If manifested, select one enemy unit within 18 inches of the Psyker. Until the start of your next Psychic phase, subtract 1 from attacks characteristics of models in that unit. Each time a charge is declared for that unit, only the closest enemy unit can be selected as the target of the charge. What? Well, I love it. You have that big ugly boy squad that's sitting there, or those gene stealers that have catapulted across the table, or Harlequin jet bikes that have one turn crossed an entire table. Subtract 1 from attacks characteristic. They're already each model swinging 1 less attack. They can only charge the nearest unit. So you can screen like you've never screened before. Stick a repulsor or a gladiator in front of everything. -2 to those charges. They can only declare the closest unit. It's beautiful. I love it. Excellent power. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Moving over, we have our own secondaries, or I guess Deathwatch have their own secondaries. Now, some of these are I like. So if you're going up against certain, and I mean certain Xenos armies, Suffer Not the Alien is relatively good, because you score a victory point at the end of the battle for each enemy Xenos unit destroyed by a Deathwatch unit from your army. So if you're going up against MSU Eldari with a lot of aspect warriors or something like that, or orcs, MSU orcs running boys in trucks or small units of mega knobs, you get a victory point for each unit killed. So by the end of the game, you're going to rack up 9 victory points. Now, I know that's not the full 15, but it's a good steady stream of points, which I like. And if your hands are tied, you have no other options, you're going up against Xenos, take Suffer Not the Alien. It's fluffy, it's rewarding watching Xenos die at the hands of your Xenos killers. Another one, Long Vigil. So score 5 victory points at the end of your command phase if there are no enemy units, excluding aircraft, within 6 inches of your deployment zone. And there's at least 1 Deathwatch unit, excluding aircraft, from your army wholly within your deployment zone. You cannot score this secondary objective on the first battle round, because why would you? But this, I think, is good for about 10 points per game, roughly, if it's that mid-tier secondary objective. If you're going against units that aren't like Harlequins, that can get in your backfield and start screwing with things. But if you put out a shield wall of units and you have like a long-range kill team in the back, or a gladiator tank in the back popping off shots downrange, you can easily get 5 or 10 points for this every game. So Long Vigil's a good one, I think. Moving on from there, the Crusade rules. So if you're picking this book up for Crusade, you're going to want to read it yourself, because that's just the way it is. Crusade, there's so many intricacies. I'm going to go through them, glaze over them, but Deathwatch have a whole slew of their own agendas, which is really good. That's your Crusade secondaries, for those of you who aren't privy with Crusade. Unique requisitions, which 2 of these I really, really like. This one, I'll rearm, reform, redeploy. 1 requisition point. You purchase this requisition either before or after a battle. Select one of the following, or select a, I think it's a typo here, but you select a kill team unit from your army, or from your Crusade force. You can reconfigure the war gear options of any model in that unit. In addition, you can remove any number of optional models from that unit. We'll get to that in a bit when we actually go over the kill teams. But for each number of optional models in the unit you remove, you must add a new model to the unit, following the normal restrictions specified on that kill team's data sheet. You cannot make any changes that would increase your overall power level, or that would make your power level exceed your Crusade requisition limit. And then once you have made all the changes, update the Crusade card accordingly. So a lot of, like, in Crusade, from game to game, you can't really change your loadout. You pick a unit, it's stuck on that loadout. You can't swap out models or stuff like that. You can increase the models, but you can't swap them out. Deathwatch are all about versatility. So mid-Crusade, if you find that you need something else, you swap out guys and your war gear, and you're good to go. So I really like that that requisition. It's really fluffy to the Deathwatch. It's awesome. Battle traits. So you have your battle traits. You can choose from ones that are specific to your Watchmasters captains, your chaplains, your librarians, and then any other unit excluding vehicles. So you can basically increase the narrative of your force, which I really like. That's the one thing I suggest if you're, now this is an aside to everyone else, if you're looking to start a Crusade force, I implore you to wait for your Codex, because you're playing it for the narrative, right? This is so much narrative specific to that army that you don't get from the core rulebook. Sure, it's cool to play Crusade and stuff like that, like as a pickup game with your buddies, but to actually make your own narrative force, wait for your book, guys. I know it sucks having to wait, but you'll be rewarded in the long run, instead of having to amend all your Crusade stuff like mid-campaign or start a whole new campaign, because this adds so much stuff, which I love. Because you got, like, your Masters of Specialisms, so, like, each a captain or Watchmaster can be made a Master of Specialisms. So basically he gives units extra points based on what they've killed and what he represents. So it's like, okay, he's the Master Führer. If there's a unit that kills a whole bunch of troops, he gives them up to 5 command point, or up to 5 experience points at the end of the battle. Excellent. Really, like, field promotion. Good job, guys. Battle scars. Some of these are really fluffy. Some of them are beneficial and detrimental to you, which I like about the battle scars, because it's like, if it was just detrimental, you'd spend the requisition point, you'd heal it. But maybe you want your guys to be, like, super xenophobic, and they add one to their attacks characteristic, but they don't get to perform actions. Right? They're just charging headlong. All they want to do is kill Xenos. Cool. That's wicked. Special issue equipment. You can give your guys special issue stuff throughout as a battle honor. Crusade Relics, you have your own list of relics. The codexes are amazing for Crusade, because they like I said, they give so much more than the big rulebook. Now we're getting into the data sheets, so all 9 of them. But you also have the whole Marine Codex to back you up, so you're spoiled for choice. Special issue ammo. So this is the Deathwatch rule. So basically, if you have a Deathwatch bolt gun, you can use special issue ammo, but you can't use it on your Boltstorm gauntlets or your bolt rifles, so only certain things can use this. But basically, your Dragonfire bolts, each time an attack is made with this weapon, firing this special issue ammunition, the target does not receive the benefits of cover against the attack. That's huge. It doesn't say receives the benefits to their saving throw. They ignore cover. That means it ignores dense cover, so no -1 to hit, because it's your Dragon Breath shotgun rounds you'll see in Call of Duty or something like that, where it's literally just shooting fire at people. So cover's not going to help you. So if they're entrenched, they're dug in, boom, Dragon Fire bolts. Hellfire rounds. Each time an attack made with this weapon, or by a weapon firing this special ammunition, against a unit that is not vehicle or titanic, you add 1 to the wound roll. No, you don't wound everything on 2s anymore. Q, sad violin. But it's all about balance, guys. And I think this is an excellent change. And +1 to wound is still huge. You don't get that very often, especially if you're re-rolling wounds. So don't sweat it. It's still really good. Kraken bolts. Each time an attack is made with a weapon that fires this special issue ammunition, adds 6 inches to the range, and improve the armor penetration characteristic by 1. This is cumulative. With doctrines. Also excellent. And I know Harlequins are really hot right now. There's a certain, I don't know what it's called, but there's a way that a Shadow Seer can increase the range between you and the target by 6 inches, this negates that. So if you're right at the cusp and he activates this power with his Shadow Seer and it's like, oh, you can't hit me. Nope, I can. We hunt Xenos. We hate Xenos. No one likes Eldar. And lastly, Vengeance rounds. Each time his attack is made with a weapon firing this special issue ammunition, add 1 to the damage characteristic. So this is what I was saying with the Stalker bolt rifles using the Stratagem, making them damage 3 for an entire 10-man unit, and then firing again. It's zany. Or making that Phobos captain flat damage 4 with his character sniping bolt carbine. There's ways to really, really flex special issue ammo. It's just not a given. It's not everywhere. You don't get Stormbolter veterans with 4 special issue ammo shots a turn anymore, because that was, quite frankly, that was boring, guys. There was only everyone was including Deathwatch. Oh, what do you got? Oh, Storm Shield, Stormbolter veterans. No, this is the way, I think. Mixed unit. So it basically goes through how when you make your kill teams, you can mix your units around. So it touches on that. Creating kill teams. So they number between 5 to 10 models. The war gear is basically unique. It can only be equipped with war gear from its original data sheet. See Codex Space Marines. Abilities. So they gain the mixed unit ability. They don't get to share abilities between units. So say you include 5 Terminators in a veteran squad. The Terminators and the veterans don't get to teleport in, but you can combat squad them. So the Terminators, which are now troops, because that's the benefit, is you've included them in a kill team. Now they're a troops choice, so you have 5 OBSEC Terminators that can deep strike, and then you have the 5 veterans that start on the board. Because it says here, because they're 2 separate units, and one of them has all of one unit has the teleport strike ability. So it's beneficial that way. Keywords. Models and kill team units do not retain the keywords from the original datasheet. Instead, the kill team units have the following faction keywords: Imperium, Astartes, Deathwatch. The entry for each kill team unit will detail any keywords that unit has. So we'll get into that right now. You have your kill teams. So these are different from the specializations that we touched on earlier. This basically guides you through how to build each kill team. It's a little bit easier now to understand. You go by armor type. So Proteus kill team is all your firstborn. That's your firstborn kill team. You can include veteran bikers, Terminators, Deathwatch veterans, Vanguard veterans, all that. And they get to keep all of their stuff. It's all listed here. The Fortis kill team is your regular Mark 10 intercessors. So you have regular intercessors, assault intercessors, outriders, and hellblasters. Again, all the abilities are retained therein. Indomitor kill teams, your Gravis kill teams. Now that we have heavy intercessors, we have the big chunky boys. So you have up to, and the other thing, you have to start with 5 of either veterans, intercessors, heavy intercessors, or infiltrators, or incursors, or assault intercessors. So yeah, this is your heavy intercessors, your aggressors, your inceptors, and your eradicators. You're going to see these everywhere. They're everywhere. And lastly, the most fluffy, in my opinion, is the Spectrus kill team. Like, Bravo 6 going dark. That kind of thing. You have your infiltrators, your incursors, your reavers, and your eliminators. So these are your spec ops, Spectrus kill teams. That screams Deathwatch to me, but I somehow think you're going to see a lot more Indomitor kill teams everywhere, guys. So that's the kill teams. They're a lot easier to understand now. There's no like hellblasters and aggressors mixed with like it's like, what type of armor do you have? Cool, you're in this kill team, right? And then we get into the data sheets. Data sheets, we have the Watchmaster. He's your chapter master equivalent. He picks one unit in the command phase, its core character. They reroll all the hit rolls. It's no longer a crazy aura bubble of reroll everything until your opponent's not there anymore. And then for every other core unit, they can reroll hit rolls of 1 because he's a beefier captain, right? He has his Vigil Spear, which used to be the Guardian Spear, but now it's a Guardian Spear with special issue ammunition. Love it. Watch Captain Artemis. He's your standard watch captain, although he has a 6-up shrug, because he's the unstoppable champion, and the stasis grenade. So this had a little bit of a change. This weapon can only use once per battle. In addition, or each time an attack is made with this weapon, if a hit is scored, the target suffers d6 mortal wounds, and the attack sequence ends. 6-inch range on a grenade. Huck it at something, it implodes, and then they die. Excellent. Chaplain Cassius. So, this is what I touched on earlier. Really big fan of this. They don't forbid it, but they suggest against it. Designer's note, this data sheet is intended to represent Chaplain Cassius at an earlier point in his life than the data sheet that is presented in Codex Supplement Ultramarines. As such, if you want to field a thematic Deathwatch army, we recommend that this unit that this does not contain both this unit and Primaris units, because Cassius was in the Deathwatch like 100 plus years ago, right? In the timeline. Don't run Primaris. Don't be that guy. He's mostly a fluff piece anyways. But to keep it thematic, just run him with Firstborn, because that's the timeline. Codicier Natorian, he finally has a data sheet. Coolest looking Firstborn librarian in my opinion. But he's a librarian. Although he does add +1 to the psychic test if he tries to manifest Smite or Witchfire, because he's a battle psyker. Really cool. Deathwatch veterans. So these are your veterans. They kept a lot of the same options. However, they did lose special issue ammo on a lot of them. They basically get it on their Deathwatch bolt gun and its combi weapon equivalents. And then they have their Deathwatch shotgun with its stuff there. So that's the Deathwatch veterans. Kill Team Cassius, like I said, they finally have their own data sheet again. It basically, you must take these models, because that is Kill Team Cassius. Deathwatch Terminators are Terminators. Veteran Bike Squad are your Firstborn Bikers. And the Corvus is your unique flyer. So this has its, it can hold 12 Deathwatch infantry or biker models. Can't transport Primaris, sadly. We're still seeing that trend. Each jump pack or Terminator counts as 2. And bikers counts as 3. So that's your Black Star. Points values. Just double check, make sure your points are all correct, guys. Depending on when you need to look at this video, it might be changed in an FAQ. But the point structure with all the new books is excellent. I prefer this to the way it was. Makes it a lot easier to pen and paper your lists out. If you don't have access to anything else to do that for you. It has your kill team specialisms there for reference. And then it has your weapon profiles, your war gear. A sword made out of a Tyranid Scything Talon, which is pretty cool. Liking that. It's pure heresy, but we're liking it. And your Glossarian reference. So that's Codex Supplement Deathwatch, guys.
Sponsored by...
Hey guys, thanks for watching Anvil of War. If you liked the video, please like, share, subscribe down below. Kicking doors and popping spores. Deathwatch, baby. Is it heresy to say Daka 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 with a bolt rifle? Pew pew.